You're what we call a chaos controller with your natural advantage. I mean, you've got this wonderful strength in getting in a situation where things can spin out of control and you really stabilize. You find what works, you stick with it, you find how to repeat that. Um, Sometimes you will get pushback from other people like, well, why don't you just roll with it? Or, how come? Yeah, other people do that, but that's not your strength. So I love that you have that. You know, with all the strengths, there's no better or worse. It's not like, oh, this is a better way for you to be than other ways, but it's just, it's fascinating. It's a really interesting result. Does it sound like you when I describe it quickly?
It's funny as like in my mind, I'm like, is that really me? But then when I think about my actions, it's exactly me because not even 30 minutes before this call, I was just trying to make a decision of going with the flow with a client of mine or pushing to bring them into what I think is a better idea. And it was something I was wrestling with just not even an hour ago. So yes, it does.
So, and other times it's shown up for you. What do you think of when you think of bringing your chaos controller to the fore?
Well, since I do run my own business, there are people that I work with that often I think of myself as a bit of a shield so that they can do their job better without knowing about, oh, yeah, well, X, Y, and Z, this client is mad as a hornet. But you don't need to know that. You need to know that the result's this. And I'm going to try to keep you in that area where you don't need all the context, but I'll give you what you need to do a great job. And that's probably the most common these days. But when I go back over everywhere I've worked and lived, it's funny because it's almost like it's in a way it's like my greatest fear is something's going to fall out of place, and so it makes sense that my fear would kind of also be playing into a strength.
Yeah. So with your Colby result, so your instinctive cognitive strengths and your cognitive strengths means really the strengths in the way you naturally instinctively take action. So when we talk about it's not that you can't do it a different way. Of course you can. Like let's just talk about the experimenting. Sure, you can. And I'm sure you've had to do that over the course of your career, especially, when you moved and changed your job and started a family. Like those were all new things and you obviously did them. Um, so it's not that you can't, it's just it's more natural for you when you can find the stability, figure out what works and stick with it. And so I have four kids. They're in their 20s now, so they're not toddlers, but I definitely remember those toddler years. And yeah, I mean, they change things up. They're constantly developing. And right when you think, oh, okay, I've kind of got a handle on this. I know what the flow of being a dad to this, 1 year old. Well, then they're not a 1 year old, they're a 1.5 year old. And that has a different set of challenges and reactions from them. So I totally get that. Um, I really encourage you to take some time frequently um, for yourself, essentially. So there, not just the take the time for yourself because it's important, the self care. There's that part, but that's not really what I'm talking about. Take time for yourself to get plans and systems and vision for the future. So you really need, as an initiating follow through, to be able to see kind of beginning, middle, and end. What has happened? Where am I now? And what can I expect in the future? And that future could be, and I think for you, it doesn't have to be 10 years out. Sure, it can be, but that future might be what's going to happen next week, 6 months from now, a year from now. So, kind of a more realistic planning horizon kind of future, not just that, oh, I could do anything in 10 years, but really more concrete. Because it's really easy for all of us to focus on what didn't happen. And I think, especially for initiating follow throughs, it's like, hey, I had this plan for the day. And we focus on, these four parts got messed up and didn't happen. Sure, you're right. But these 17 other things did happen, and give yourself credit for it. And also, it's more grounding for somebody like you with that strength in initiating follow through, that planning part, to be reminded of, yeah, it's not all spinning out of control. There were these variables out there that happened, but it's okay. Another thing you can do when you're um, taking that kind of time is Well, and it's whether it's that kind of time or just when you're planning and creating your systems and structure, um, put chunks in there. And sometimes it's chunks of time, but you often can't put it on the calendar like, oh, this is going to happen from 10 to 11. Because what I want you to do in your mind and kind of in the text of the plan is say, things will go sideways today. So it's not that you want them to, it's not that you are pushing it and
But
you,
I know they will. Yeah.
but you know they will. So if you as an initiating follow through, make it explicit. Like kind of like when you have those all day blocks at the top of your calendar, it's like, some days, you're out for the whole day and it just puts at the top of your calendar, it can just say, however the phrasing makes sense to you, things will go wrong. There will be moments of chaos. There will be breaks in the plan.
There will be hell in a handbasket at some point.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
when it happens, instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, this is beyond my control and frustrate. Look, it's still going to be frustrating. I want to be realistic, but you can look at it and go, yep, look at me. I knew that would happen at some point. This is the point that it happened.
And
And
because, yeah, I like that because it's funny because often in my head, I know that it's going to come, but every single day, and sometimes it's not a day, sometimes it's over the course of a week, my plans get knocked over and I feel myself trying to chase after what I thought the week was going to be, and I never get there. And it's almost like this endless cycle of what could have been or what was taken from me. And I just keep thinking, well, next week I'll fix that next week. But then there's just always something more to chase.
right. Would you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Very, very, very close to one.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so you shoot for a very high standard, and I'm not asking you to shoot for a lower standard. I actually don't believe in that. I mean, yes, perfectionism can go too far and become, I mean, sometimes it can be really debilitating. Set high standards, but then also be realistic about where you're likely to get to. And, if you set a really high standard and you get just below it, but that's actually better than you promised the client you were going to deliver. And frankly, it should be because it sounds like you're the kind of person you're always going to expect more of yourself than the client is going to expect from you.